Hello, Sam and Fee, and we are joined by the lovely Lisa Dunnington, who some of you may know from the People's Health Alliance. She's joining us today to talk about a new thing that you've started called My Medical Choice.
Partnered with My Medical Choice. Yeah.
I'll let you do a little intro about what it is and what it's all about.
Yeah, no problem. So My Medical Choice was born probably 2 years ago now. I think we're coming up to their anniversary, and it was actually from a small group of Stand in the Park members who came together in the park and were very concerned, understandably, about protecting their bodily autonomy and freedom to choose, etc., and informed consent, all of those things that we all, I'm sure, lie in bed at night worrying about and have done for the last 3 years plus. So, it's great that it came via Stand in the Park, actually. So we partnered with My Medical Choice. I actually joined pretty much after it was launched. I spotted it because it was something that kept me awake. Having children kept me awake all the time. And then I spotted this. Now, what we've done is we've partnered probably 6 to 8 months ago and really stepped it up a notch. The guys that launched, that created this wonderful service did an amazing job, but things evolve and, different things are snuck in through the back door while we're distracted looking at, people like Russell Brand, etc., whatever's going on. So, it's really been a great few months, 6 to 8 months, just really honing in on what's changing. How do we make this an even better service? Because when I first discovered it, I was like, wow, thank God. Now I'm just blown away. And I think pretty much everything is covered. There's always something that will crop up, but I think, they've done an amazing job. We've tried to leave no stone unturned. So, yeah, really excited to introduce people to this. To me, it's the ultimate insurance policy you can have for you and your family. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a quite a comprehensive sort of presentation on YouTube, which the link will obviously go for people to watch themselves. But I think over the last 3 years, particularly, for many of us, that trust within our public health service, within the NHS, within, our faith that our medical freedom, our bodily autonomy, our faith that is upheld, above all else, has kind of been completely smashed to pieces. And I think, one of the biggest issues for a lot of people that I've seen coming up time and time again is the issue of things like blood transfusions, which is addressed within this, and I think is probably one of the things that would be important, whether we talk about that now or come to that in a little while. But yeah, I think for a lot of people it certainly prompts a lot of questions, addresses a lot of concerns that you've got, and it's certainly, there's a lot of really comprehensive information within this service that sort of is available for many of us that aren't clued up on, our options, our rights, where we kind of stand and everything like that. And it's that information that sort of empowers us to be able to make informed choices, which is sort of the fundamental thing for all of us, informed choice.
Yeah,
absolutely. We need to be looking at this stuff, because some of it is a bit, I don't want to think about, you don't want to be thinking about having to make these decisions. But do you really want to be trying to make them when you're at that point where they're having to be made and you've got no idea? And, it's so much better to be prepared. And there are so many things that we won't have even thought of.
But also, you don't. You may not be in a position to make those decisions once you're in.
Exactly. Yes.
And that's the point. So the responsibility then lies on your next of kin, your loved ones. And they may not fully appreciate what your wishes are, so it is a difficult process to go through. There's some real soul searching needs to be done when you're putting together the documents that describe your wishes. But I think it's something we all need to do if we are going to be protected when we're at our most vulnerable. So My Medical Choice basically is a medical alert system, and it's designed to keep the members safe from any unwanted medical treatments and procedures, vaccines, blood transfusions, even when you're unconscious or unable to make those and communicate those decisions yourself. So it really is, to me, it's just, like I keep saying, the ultimate insurance policy, because it's hard, you do have to make these decisions, but
yeah, if we don't make them, yeah, I mean, it's not like the NHS is that exactly, they will be made for us. The NHS is not going to say, oh, well, you know, if you'd rather not, or here, sign this, that's
exactly.
it's done regardless of what, you know. And even people that have previously, you know, not through My Medical Choice, but, you know, before, I guess, anything was kind of put in place, because all of this was just suddenly happening. Even then, when people have tried a few different things, probably with not quite enough research behind them, it's been kind of batted away. Like, you really do need to know your stuff on this, because it's not necessarily going to be just enough to have a paper or to have told someone that you don't, you know, that's not necessarily going to be respected.
And so what this does is it empowers people. You know, there's a few elements to My Medical Choice, which we can go through, but the main thing for me is it empowers people, because it educates them in what are their rights and how do they deal. You know, there's a really great pre-op consultation pack which helps the member to navigate that whole system with the NHS, to understand what their rights are within the NHS and their whatever they stand by. You know, there's stuff hidden in there that you wouldn't know, but you have a right to. So it's understanding things like that. It's dealing with the consultant to let them know, actually, I know what I'm talking about. I know what my options are, because I've researched them and I've had advice, and this is what I want. So you can imagine going into a pre-op consultation without that, you're just putting in the hands, aren't you? Yeah, you need to know what options are out there for you and what your rights are.
And I think that's another thing, that the last sort of few years have brought to many of us, is that actually the options that we are generally presented with by our NHS are not necessarily the only options that are out there.
And they're not necessarily in our best interests.
Exactly. Which, you know, and I think it's really important that those other options for various things are all sort of set out. And again, it is, you know, with knowledge comes empowerment. And that's one of the things we all sort of need to do.
Definitely. So starting with, I guess, our worst case scenario, I'm in a car crash, you know, not able to speak for myself, and I'm rushed off in an ambulance. Now, the first part of MMC is that it gives you a medical alert system. So there's, first of all, there's physical tools. For example, I always wear this. It's basically a medical alert tab. It's got the website on the back. It's got my member number, and any first responders or A&E staff can straight away access my profile on my Medical Choice. Now, in that profile, it will have details of my medical history, any operations, any issues that I've got. It will include any allergies, etc. Pretty much anything you want somebody to know about you if they're going to give you treatment in that situation. So you can put everything down in there. Any medications you're on, all that kind of stuff. So they can quickly access that and make sure that they're not making mistakes because they don't know that information. Because I think we all think that all the NHS trusts are linked, and they're not. So if you ended up in a hospital outside of where you live, or you may never have been before, you know, they're not necessarily going to be able to access your records. And that would also mean that you would have to have been in the system anyway. you know, and some of us, fortunately, have never been in hospital or whatever. So, you know, we kind of think everything's linked, and it isn't. So putting that on your own profile is really, really, you know, useful, and can prevent any problems happening. You know, if you were allergic to antibiotics and they were given, you know, you need to know these things. The other thing that we have, physical thing we have, is this that goes in your wallet. So it's a no blood My Medical Choice member. So it straight away alerts the emergency staff, the first responders, etc., that, you know, you reserve the right through your advance decision notice to reject certain treatments, and that may include blood transfusions. So again, on the back, it's got your details. They can access that straight away. We even have on our phones a screensaver, the same stuff on there. So there's 3 ways there that, if, you know, if it's a first responder, they go straight to pulse points. So you'd have a medical alert either on your wrist or on around your neck. They'd look in your wallet. They're trained to do this. They'd look at your phone. It comes up as your screensaver. So there's lots of ways that they're being told, okay, I need to access this person's details, and this is how I do it. Another great thing is, as soon as they access it,
I like this,
an SMS alert goes out to your up to 2 chosen emergency contacts. So if you're unconscious, unable to respond yourself, straight away they're alerted. You need to call this number, and they're there to speak for you. I've mentioned the advance decision notice. Now, what that is a legal document which basically sets out your wishes in the event that you can't speak for yourself. So it's a really, really important document. When you join as a member, you get a template, and that is just so thorough in terms of what you might consider. And this is what we're talking about. These are really difficult things to think about. They really are. But you know, they're so important. So on there, you'd have your emergency contact details. If you've got a lasting power of attorney, you'd also have details of who you appointed as an attorney. But you have to think about things like, you know, where do you stand with life support treatment? You know, do you want to be kept on life support? Would you want to donate your organs? Would you take an organ transplant? Skin grafts and bone grafts, you know.
I think also sorry to interrupt, but I think, you know, I'm not sure how many people are aware that actually a lot of the things like organ donation, I think it's now an opt-out as opposed to an opt-in, that a lot of these schemes that they are running, they will automatically do that unless you opt out. And again, it's, you know, thinking about things like that, so that, you know, even if that's something you want to do, you know, you're still making that choice. And I think that's important.
And it's also worth checking, because I'm sure I watched something recently and you have to keep opting out.
Right. So you can't just do it once and that's it.
I think there's a time on that, and then you have to re-opt out. So seriously, people, get yourselves an advance decision notice. You set it all out in there and you make it very clear, and keep opting out. But, you know, other things, what else, you know, you think about things like stem cell treatment. Where do these things come from? Importantly, I refuse any COVID-related treatment. And in fact, any vaccinations you can opt out of. You make it very clear, you know, any invasive testing for that thing, you know, you opt out of it. All sorts of things, you know, and this really is a very, very good comprehensive template where, again, we've tried to think of everything. What are the things that come up? Now, you may think, and we were having this chat, weren't we, Sam, that you don't want to opt out of blood transfusions should you be in that position where you're bleeding out and you know, it's because you think it's what the option is.
Yes. Yes, I was intrigued when I was listening to the video that actually, you know, blood transfusions aren't the only options, that there are things there are other options that we're not told about. That's just their default position of what they do. And yes, I mean, you know, it's not something I've given huge amounts of thought to, but I think, you know, in a life or death situation, knowing what I did prior to watching your video, it would have been a case of, well, yeah, I'd rather take the blood transfusion than die and leave my children without their mum. So you know, but it's certainly something I'm interested to kind of then see, well, what are these other options? Why aren't they telling us about these other options? And
yeah. You know, and we all know that the Jehovah's Witnesses have, for a long time, you know, refused blood transfusions. And there's good reason for that, because there are other options. There are bloodless surgeries that you wouldn't have a clue about, you know,
Right.
And that is your right to ask for that. So again, it comes back to the education through My Medical Choice and empowering people to understand what their options are. So we do have a safe blood protection system, is what I like to call it. And really, it's a no blood, because there isn't safe blood, if you know what I mean. There aren't any unvaccinated blood banks. We're not going to be able to create one. You know, there's too much legal stuff goes into that. But what we can do is protect ourselves from unsafe blood. And that's why I love this system, you know, because you have got the education, you've got bloodless surgeries, you've got lots of different options. Also within that system, you can register your own compatible donors.
I was going to ask about that. Yeah, I think that's something we've all thought about, is but we've got our friends that are
the people
unjabbed.
we trust, and the people that we would be happy to take, and if it's compatible, then you can register those on there. So as soon as, if an emergency does, they can contact your emergency compatible donors. As I said, we talk about blood alternatives and bloodless surgeries. There's also a safe blood donor database. So this is other My Medical Choice members that are happy to go on a database and offer to be a donor should, if they're matched up, should another My Medical Choice member require that. Personally, I wouldn't do that, because I don't think anything can be guaranteed from a blood product. But other people may find that that's something that works for them, and they're happy to do that. You know, and we also provide through our membership, our partnership with Autonomy Hotline advocacy services. So if things do go wrong, you've got somewhere to go and get help in terms of dealing with that, and having an advocate to help with that. So yeah, the safe blood protection system basically allows you to manage or refuse any procedures involving blood components or blood transfusions, products, etc. So that, I think, for a lot of people is huge.
It is, because it is a massive concern, you know, for many of us who have done our research and sort of know, you know, the implications of the vaccinations in the blood, and you know, the consequences that may arise from sort of taking that. It's certainly a conversation that has been going on for a long time, but I don't ever feel, sort of before now, that that's been moved forward very far, certainly from what I've read and what I've seen. So yeah, it's also something that I think most of us sit there and we just think, it'll probably never happen. I'll probably never need to think about it. And we sort of say, well, it's a really difficult question, and I don't really want to think about it.
Or another time, we'll look at that, you know, at some point.
It's a bit like writing your will, isn't it? It's all that stuff. We don't like to think about, you know, leaving this plane and going to the next one. But, you know, I think you've got to for your children, you've got to for your, you know, just for your family, because I mean, I've been through it with my mum in terms of Alzheimer's and lasting power of attorneys and all this kind of stuff, and it's really hard. It's really hard to think about that. But I have an LPA with my husband, and he's my attorney, and vice versa, because having gone through that process, because, you know, it can happen in the blink of an eye. So you've got to protect yourselves, and you've got to protect your loved ones, and make sure that, you know, that the people who are responsible for decisions when you're not able to know what you want, you know. An advanced decision notice is a really great document, because, you know, I've had a couple of people saying to me, well, what if they ignore it? Now, the thing with an ADN is it's not the NHS that is accountable if one of their staff ignores your ADN and your wishes. They are personally liable, and they know that. They're trained to know that. So it's a different thing, isn't it, when you think, well, I'm going to come after you if I ended up with that blood transfusion.
Can't hide behind the
refuse, because I can see you access my information, but it was ignored. So that is in itself, I think, quite, you know, quite encouraging.
I think
peace of mind.
The other thing that springs to mind for me, certainly in terms of an advance notice, is that for me, certainly with conditions I've got, in the event of a traumatic thing, event or whatever, it may be called into question whether I'm fit to make that decision, whether I'm in the right state of mind to be able to make that decision. And obviously we saw in the COVID legislation that they actually sort of, you know, reduced the number of people that were allowed to override and deem you unable to make certain decisions. And I think certainly the advance notice, it's there, and no one can then, you know, take into question that, well, you know, we overrode your decision because you'd been in this traumatic thing and you've got XY conditions, and we didn't think you were in a fit state to make that choice.
And, you know, your advance decision notice is witnessed, that you're off signed, etc., you know. And also we provide a template letter so that you can send your ADM to your GP and have that on their system. And I actually did mine 2 years ago, as I said, and they called me up and they said, we'd like you to come in. I'd never go to the GP. And it was when they were doing things as well. And I thought, oh, what do they want me for? You know, let's go and have a chat. I was quite up for it. Got there expecting one conversation, but it was actually about the ADN. And they were just, are you sure? You do understand what you've done here? Blah, blah, blah. And I said, yeah, absolutely. So it went on the system. So these are all safety nets, aren't they? They're just things that help you feel a little bit of peace of mind that they're going to understand clearly that this was done at the right time. It was witnessed. It's got all your details on there. But importantly as well, is to remember to talk to your emergency contacts and make sure they know. Because, we kind of get things off the desk. Yeah, I've done it. Okay, that's done. On to the next thing. I forgot to tell my husband that I didn't want life support, or I didn't want blood transfusion. Do you know what I mean? So
quite important.
It's important to discuss it, obviously, with your emergency contact, and the same with a lasting power of attorney, just to make sure. Because also, when and if, God forbid, you were in that life-threatening situation, sometimes people think, well, I don't want that to happen, so I'm going to override it. Because I think you would want to still be here, or you don't know what I mean. So it's difficult, isn't it? I think you've got to be very clear. You've got to think very carefully about what your wishes are, get them documented, and make sure that your emergency contacts are 100% on board, regardless of what happens. That's the important thing, I think. So
and to know your options and know your rights,
to know what your options
are, know where you stand.
That's the main thing.
Absolutely.
There's so much stuff we're just not told. Like you say, what bloodless surgery? What's that? You know, you're not. You do, unfortunately, in this world, have to do all the research yourself.
And a lot of this has been done.
To hand it over. Yeah.
A lot of this has been done for us, and is all there to access for £25 a year. So to me, it's just like, what? You know, this is amazing. And, you know, they've also done a lot of short videos, because there's a lot, you get on there and you think, oh gosh, there's an awful lot to think about here. But so there's a lot of short videos just explaining in very simple layman's terms each thing that you might want to consider. So there's one on blood, there's one on doing your ADN, etc., all that kind of stuff. And there's lots of blogs as well. So a wealth of information. There's also a really concise and comprehensive frequently asked questions section. That's where I think we've tried to think about everything possible. I'm sure somebody will come up with a question at some point and say, what about this? And that's great, because it's organic. It just keeps growing. You know, the information keeps growing. So, but that said, I think it's a great bunch of frequently asked questions. They really are good. So loads of information. Don't think you can just sort of sign up and you'll be done in 10 minutes. It takes a lot of thought, bit of soul searching, you know, and I think everybody that goes through that process will have peace of mind knowing this is in place. So it's worth the effort, and don't delay, because we have had a couple of members that have literally called from the bed in hospital saying, can I do this really quickly? Well, you can do it. I mean, the advanced decision notice, yes, you could do it pretty quickly, and if it's just to protect you quickly, but why would you leave it? Don't leave it. Just get on with it. Take your Sunday afternoon and do something that's really going to give you peace of mind, educate you, and, you know, empower you. So I mean, it's £25 a year. It's a private members association. So no information is kept other than, you know, we can't, MMC can't access your personal information that you've stored on there. Only you can do that. Obviously, the emergency responders, when they access your account, but they can't change anything on there. We do have a code at the moment for the first year to offer £5 off, so it'd be just £20 for the first year. We can put that in the link, that in the description. But yeah, you know, it's amazing. And for me personally, I just think, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? Knowing what we know, sorry. Why wouldn't you?
I think the reason why many of us don't is just because it's scary. And that sounds really pathetic, you know, like, you know, none of us are getting any younger, and obviously the chances of, you know, needing help from the my brain's just gone through. But yeah, you know, it's something that we do all need to think about. And I think that things like this coming in such a sort of organic grassroots with real people with real knowledge and real insights and a real sort of sense of care sort of coming together to do this is just fantastic. And it shows, you know, the absolute strength of sort of, you know, the people.
Do you know, but you started just then by saying it's really scary. I think what's more scary is not having that in place. What and I completely agree. Is ending up in hospital. In the, you know, it's the being at the mercy. It's the opening to hell for me. So I just to have that peace of mind, knowing that I've made my choices very clear. That's not scary. The alternative is scary.
I do totally agree. I think it is that first step to really start considering those really, really big questions. It is a really sort of, you know, for a lot of people, I think, and the reason a lot of people haven't gone down this road yet is that kind of, I don't want to confront my own mortality. So actually addressing all of those questions and really taking all of that time to confront the very real possibility of something terrible happening. And I do completely agree that it is also equally as terrifying to sort of go into hospital and not know your rights, not know your options, and be at the mercy of a health service that, you know, quite frankly, I have lost a lot of faith in. So yes, there is a pick your fear, I suppose.
Being in control is less daunting than not being in control, and for me, it's a bit of a control freak, I suppose. And you know, it's got to be done.
I do completely agree with you, and I just think it's very much, you know, human nature to sort of shy away from those questions. But I do think it's something that we all kind of, especially the way the world is moving, and we've just seen 2 more pieces of legislation sort of go through in the last sort of week or 2 that are further reducing, you know, our rights and our freedoms. I think, you know, it really is time that a lot of us kind of take it by the balls and actually start addressing these scary things and taking control over our own knowledge and our own decision making, and really putting things into place to protect ourselves. So I do agree.
And
there is this.
I think also as well, people need to be wary of the COVID's over thing. You know, we don't really need to. They are not stopping with this. All the medical stuff.
I know. Don't get me started.
We've only just begun. As much as we know it's rubbish, and we knew it was rubbish before, that alone does not stop this juggernaut moving.
The last couple of weeks,
be under that.
Bit like I'm living in the twilight zone again.
It is, and it's like as much as
ramping up the fear again, aren't they? They're introducing.
That's it. They're going to be doing their thing regardless, and we can say no one will fall for it again and all of this stuff, but they have got their agenda. It's not stopping. And unfortunately, you know, we are heading into very, very tempestuous waters again, and just kind of be careful of that. Oh wow, you know, we don't need to worry about that, because they're doing their thing.
But rather than dwelling on the fear that they are trying to regenerate here, we look at the solutions that are available. Keep moving forward. Keep moving forward. We're going to come through, but we protect ourselves along the way as best we can. It's just navigating it, isn't it? So this is a great way to give you some protection and peace of mind. Keep focusing on the solutions, guys, you know.
Absolutely.
And this is definitely one of them for that aspect. So
it's
definitely advise that everyone, you know, have a look through, and remember that it's better to have made the decision now than, like you say, be frantically calling from a bet if you were even able to,
if you even
had that choice. So
and you know, we can put in the description as well that link to the YouTube video that unfortunately you'll see my mug again, but it's going through a number of slides just detailing each section of my medical choice, and also I take you on a quick tour of the back office from my point of view, so you can see how it all works once you've signed up and you're getting into putting all your personal information in. So that's a good video just to get you started, and then, you know, get on there and have a good look at the frequently asked questions, because they really do answer most things, I think.
Right.
So it's not doom and gloom.
No, it's not.
As I said, when I found this 2 years ago, I was elated, because I just thought, thank God somebody else is thinking about these things and looking at ways to protect us. So it's a good thing, you know.
It is. It's definitely positive. All the links are there, and it is very much taking your power back, taking your sort of control over your own body, your own life, and it's sort of being informed. And I think that's what, you know, most of the people that will be tuning into our videos are kind of on the same page with. So please do check it out. It is quite a small price to pay, really, for that peace of mind. You know, £20 this year, £25 for every subsequent year. It is a small price to pay for that kind of peace of mind. So yeah, check out all the links.
Well, that's like any insurance, isn't it? We hope that we'll never need it, but if we do, we've got ourselves covered. I mean, I was actually adding up all my insurances, you know, that we're forced to do. Car or bloody, you know, protect this, protect that, home and contents and building them. And this is just a drop in the ocean compared to what we're paying. I mean, car insurance, you know, stuff like that. It's just phenomenal. It's through the roof, isn't it? Yeah. So I just think, yeah, do it.